Hey everyone, welcome to Snaptrude. In this video, I'll walk you through the complete process of designing a project using Snaptrude's AI workflow, from typing a design prompt to generating a fully detailed BIM model and presentation. We'll go step by step, so you can see exactly how each part of the process works. Let's get started. Let's begin with the prompt. I want to design a high school in Oregon for 2,000 students with standard spaces like classrooms, science labs, a gymnasium, and so on. The next step is to select the site. I'll paste in our site coordinates and select the property parcels that make up our site. Now, AI starts generating the program. It first compiles the project logic, outlining occupancy, zoning, and area standards. Then, creates color-coded 3D program blocks grouped by department. And finally, generates a detailed program table listing all spaces with their areas and counts. It also generates program diagrams that we can use directly in our presentation. These spaces are then organized across relevant stories, giving us a massing model in just a few seconds. Alongside the 3D spaces, Snaptrude also generates area charts that keep track of the target areas as we edit these spaces further. It has also generated inspiration images for both interiors and exteriors, giving us a visual and data-rich starting point. Now, I'll switch to the editor mode so we can start refining the design ourselves. I'll filter and isolate the departments in the model. And I'll run the AI Adjacencies tool. Snaptrude analyzes relationships between departments, with adjacency lines showing direct and indirect connections. Now, I'll drag this diagram into Present mode and switch to the bubble diagram view. Let's arrange them for 3 stories. This gives us a clear overview of the overall organization before we dive into the details. Let's start planning a standard module, which we can replicate across the project. I'll switch back to design mode and hide all spaces for now. Using the Line tool, I'll draw a corridor with a 12-foot offset. Next, I'll create a new department called Circulation from the Object Properties panel. Assign it a red color, and assign the corridor to that department. Let's copy this corridor and add courtyards along the middle. This becomes the basis for our standard module. Let's unhide all the spaces. I'll try to rearrange these classroom spaces along the 2 corridors right here. When you select any space, you can view and edit its properties from the Properties panel to the right here. We can also switch to the Program mode and make edits directly to the program spreadsheet. I'll set all classroom lengths to 36 feet. This data is live linked to our design canvas, and you'll see that the spaces get updated instantly. Let's draw a reference line, array copy it every 24 feet, and use it to align all classrooms, corridors, and courts. Now, let's draw these reference lines on our main plan too. And mark out our main circulation corridors. I'll also switch to 3D and copy these corridors across all stories. Now that the program and module are ready, let's put them together in a presentation sheet. I'll switch to Present mode and drag these automatically generated space diagrams onto a new sheet. Then I'll go back to Program mode, copy the area data for each department, and paste that into the sheet. Finally, I'll take a screenshot of the area charts and add it here. In just a few minutes, we've got a clean, visual program sheet showing both the design logic and the data behind it. Now I'll use the standard module to plan out an entire floor. Let's move to the third story and start placing classrooms and supporting spaces along the grid lines. Once that's done, I'll save this plan view with all spaces visible. Now I'll drag it onto a sheet in Present mode, fix the text labels, add a key plan, and place the area chart next to it. Let's also switch to a view with rounded corners for a more conceptual appearance. That completes a presentation-ready floor plan. Let's isolate all the spaces on the third story. Now, in 3D view, I'll copy the elevators, staircases, and courts across all stories. Everything stays aligned perfectly from one floor to the next, and we can build the rest of the program around these fixed cores. I'll lock these spaces and the reference lines so we don't move them accidentally. We have 32 classrooms on this floor, so now I'll try to meet that target as I arrange them next to the corridors. I'll repeat this process of isolating and space planning for the upper floors. Let's refine the administration department on the first floor. I'll select all the spaces in that department and run AI Adjacencies again, this time at the space level. When I click Arrange, Snaptrude groups related rooms together, and we can get a better idea of the spatial relationships. I'll drag this plan into Present mode, switch to Bubble Diagram view, and add arrows, labels, and annotations. That's our department adjacency diagram done. Now let's repeat the same process for other key departments: gym, library, and cafeteria. For the gym, I'll push some spaces like the main hall up to make it double height. Once the library and cafeteria are done, I'll place the restrooms at major circulation nodes for easy access. Then I'll make the corridors unique on each floor so I can trim them individually. Once that's done, I'll start saving a few key views of the model. I can create plan views, elevation views, and 3D perspectives, and rename each one to stay organized. From the view settings, I can switch between different visual styles, like textured, monochrome, or department view, or hide the axes and edges in the view. These saved views are live-linked, so any design change I make in the model automatically updates across all my sheets and presentations. Now let's create an exploded axonometric diagram to show how the spaces stack. I'll switch to 3D orthographic mode and isolate the first floor. I'll save this as a view, then repeat the same for every floor. Once we have all our views set up, let's switch to Present mode. I'll drag these views onto a sheet to build the full axonometric stack. Let's also add labels and extension lines to make it easy to read. Now let's open the Sustainability tab. I'll run a sun hours analysis to check how the building performs through the year. Once it's done, I'll save two different views. And drag both of these into Present mode to compare results. This helps us understand daylight exposure and guides facade design decisions later. Next, let's work on the landscape and site. I'll switch to a textured view and draw a road using the line and arc tools with a 24-foot offset. I'll double-click and label it as Road, and notice how Snaptrude automatically assigns it the right properties. These are called smart labels. I can do the same to create a plaza, pathway, garden, and more. Now I'll draw a football field using the rectangle tool and create a path around it using the offset tool. Finally, I'll lay out the remaining open spaces and landscape zones. After drawing and labeling all the landscape elements, let's import a new paving material into the team library. Then I'll switch to the BIM mode and open the Materials panel. Here, I can find the material I just added and apply it to the pathways across the site. Once applied, I'll edit its settings and rotate the pattern angle to 45 degrees so it aligns better with the overall layout. All changes update instantly in both the 2D and 3D views, giving our site a clean, finished look. Let's now turn our conceptual model into a BIM model. I'll select the first 2 stories and run the Sketch to BIM tool. Snaptrude converts these massing blocks into rooms with walls, slabs, floors, and roofs. For these lower floors, I've used generic brick walls. Next, I'll select the upper stories and run the same tool again. This time, assigning glass curtain walls. Now the building is a full BIM model that's ready for detailing. But first, let's test interior daylight performance. I'll run an Illuminance study from the Sustainability menu. This shows solar radiation and daylight penetration inside the building. Here, I have added perforated metal screens to the facade. Now, let's rerun the study to compare the results. We can see how the screens help reduce glare and balance light across the spaces. I'll update the presentation sheet to reflect the new results. Let's add some final details. I'll open the Windows library, place a window on the facade, adjust its size, and copy it across the building. Then I'll apply materials and textures to the facade. We're now ready to create some polished renders. I'll drag a view onto this sheet. Here I can type a short prompt and select the rendering engine. Let's choose Nano Banana for a still render. I'll duplicate the sheet and switch to VO3 to generate an AI walkthrough from the same view. Both renders are saved to the project and can be exported directly as presentation sheets. And that's it! The complete AI workflow on Snaptrude, with a design concept ready for presentation. Thanks for watching, and happy designing with Snaptrude!